What is fan activism? Fan activism is the merging of a person's passion for story with their desire to create a better and more equitable world. Fan activism in the Harry Potter fandom is often called wizard activism, and being a wizard activist means applying the central tenets of the Harry Potter novels to your interactions with others and with the world around you. Wizard activists live by the mantra that the weapon we have is love. This means we center love in our activism rather than the cynicism, doom and gloom, and high barriers of entry found in more traditional activist spaces. Wizard activists look to Dumbledore's army for inspiration. It was an inclusive space that welcomed people of all magical abilities. Patience and understanding were key as young witches and wizards honed their defensive spells and abilities. And at the Harry Potter Alliance, our goal is to make activism more accessible and sustainable for anyone who wants to improve their community and shape the world. Being a wizard activist means holding love and inclusivity above all else.
This is Potter Watch, a podcast that holds a space for wizard activists of any size. Welcome to episode 16, where we meet wizard activist Matt Maggiacomo. Matt is the executive director of the Harry Potter Alliance, and he wants you to know you have special powers to change the world. Matt also has deep roots in wizard rock and shares the experience of many who have found Harry Potter a resource and guide through life's more difficult moments. So put down that sword, ink up that quill, and get ready to go inside the Pensieve. Matt, are you ready to go inside the Pensieve?
Yes, I am.
All right, here we go. Welcome to episode 16 of Potter Watch. I'm excited to have Matt Maggiacomo here, the executive director of the Harry Potter Alliance. Matt is a longtime wizard rocker and fan activist and just all-around inspired Harry Potter fan. So, Matt, this is a really, really special opportunity here to have you on the show. All of your experiences really cover the inspiration for Potter Watch. And I'm really excited to have our listeners get to benefit from the variety of ways you've been inspired by the book series. Welcome.
Sure, absolutely. Thank you so much for having me. I'm happy to be here and share whatever insights I have about being a Harry Potter fan and applying that passion to the real world.
We're going to, of course, talk about the Harry Potter Alliance, but I'm curious, before we get into that, since you have such a broad range here of experiences with the book series and the whole Harry Potter fandom, I'm dying to find out, what would you say, as you look back over your time with the book series itself, what comes to mind when you look back on your history with Harry Potter?
I think in terms of my experience with the books, what always stuck out to me was the network of friends and people who cared about Harry. Pretty much from the beginning, not always with him having any awareness of it, but that support system was there and waiting for him, and then was built up around him as he entered Hogwarts and kind of got his feet wet as a wizard. And he was somebody with special abilities, but also those abilities were a result of loss and pain. And at the time that I was really getting deep into, or just really getting deep into the Harry Potter fandom itself, I had been reading the books for a few years before I got involved with fandom, but my involvement with fandom coincided with loss in my own life. So that the story became that much more profound as we kind of learned the ways in which Harry's mother's sacrifice in particular led to him having kind of special abilities and an exceptional existence.
Yeah. So for me,
really stands out when I think about the Harry Potter books are those sort of like themes of network of friendship, network of friends, network of loved ones, and the sort of ties that bind people together. I think there are certain people who have innate talents and abilities, and they bring those abilities out through practice and training. But I also think that trauma can have an effect on people more than anything else in kind of shaping their worldview. I know that when I was young, I was very happy-go-lucky and kind of a goofball. And then when I was 11, things started to spiral from there. Like my parents got divorced, and that was kind of my first big thing. And then I just became a much more serious and focused person. And I think that the terrible things that have happened in my life have brought out my strengths more than anything else.
Yeah. And Harry Potter has been a resource to make sense of all that for you personally, it sounds like.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. It's helped me to, I think in particular, I have a lot of friends who haven't lost someone in their immediate family or lost a best friend or anything like that. And I can almost use our shared love of the Harry Potter novels as a way of explaining to them, how this loss has impacted me or made me feel. So it can be kind of a bridge in that regard. I noticed, I lost my brother actually within the span of 9 months. My brother died, and then my best friend died. So those are two, really intense losses, but also distinct and unique losses. And a lot of my experience with my brother's loss was actually viewing how my parents reacted to it. And one thing that that kind of opened up for them was the network of parents who've lost their kids. And there really is like an incredible network of people who've gone through this and have shared that loss with others and derived comfort from, tapping into those networks and support systems. In terms of losing my best friend, it was part of a close group of friends. We experienced that loss together, and it is something that, a decade later we talk about it, and people who didn't know Andy maybe can't understand exactly how we feel, but the 5 or 6 of us who were very close to him and maintain that friendship. I don't know, the Harry Potter fandom is unique. It really is uniquely close-knit and uniquely intense. And I think that the friendships that are forged within the Harry Potter fandom are some of the strongest that I've experienced, and really spans geography and age and lots of other factors that would normally kind of keep people apart. Yeah. So it's pretty incredible.
Yeah. So Matt, I wanted to read the values of the Harry Potter Alliance for everybody, and then I'll ask you a question. But the values of the Harry Potter Alliance go like this. We believe in magic. We believe that unironic enthusiasm is a renewable resource. We know fantasy is not only an escape from our world, but an invitation to go deeper into it. We celebrate the power of community, both online and off. And finally, we believe that the weapon we have is love. So I'm so excited to read those aloud and to support those values. They're definitely values that this show is all about. So there you have it. You're a multidimensional fan. Can you give us a little bit of history in terms of those different streams of your inspiration, how they came about, maybe what started first, and then you can spend as much time on whichever one you'd like to. But how does all that come together for you?
Yeah, it came together. It feels, at the time it felt random and completely unexpected. But looking back, it makes a lot of sense. I had been a fan of the Harry Potter books for a few years, but not involved in fandom at all. Beyond sort of the basic activities of reading the books and talking about them with a few friends who were also reading them and anticipating them. Mm-hmm. And so back in 2003, 2004, I had been organizing these. I've also been involved in music since I was a teenager, and always kind of on the organizing end of music. In addition to writing my own music and performing, I also organized various local shows and series of shows and things like that. So I had this house party series that I was running, and a band from Boston, Soltero, recommended Harry and the Potters, thought that Harry and the Potters would be a great fit for our house party in the future. And so I knew nothing of this band, just that I trusted my friend's opinion, so I invited them to play. And that show that they played was kind of a game changer, because a lot of the indie music scene and the bands that I was accustomed to running with were very serious and kind of shoegazery, and the focus was not engaging a crowd. It was more on expressing yourself as an artist, which is totally fine. That's what I was doing too. And Harry and the Potters were more about engaging the audience and having fun and expressing values and trying to inspire others to adopt those values, very similar to the ones that the Harry Potter Alliance has adopted as their values. And I came away from that show very inspired, feeling very much like it had opened up a world of possibilities in terms of my own art and music and everything. And my friends Brian and Brad felt very much the same about the show, and so we decided to have a Wizard Rock, another Wizard Rock house party, and invite Harry and the Potters back. But this time, Brian and Brad would spoof them as Draco and the Malfoys, and I would spoof them as the Whomping Willow. And so that show happened. I didn't write any songs for the show. I just did a performance piece where I, essentially my version of the Whomping Willow as sort of a sentient creature. He was a musical critic, and his whole thing was that he did not like Harry and the Potters. He felt that they were too simple. And so his presentation was basically a critique of Harry and the Potters, and then an example of what he felt was legit music, and that was "Carry On My Wayward Son" by Kansas. So that was the whole presentation. But eventually, I got around to writing songs for the Whomping Willows, and
so it was Whomping Willow singular.
Yes,
Whomping being a fitting adjective or adverb for a critic. yeah, basically. Okay, and then there was the band, the plural.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, I didn't know that.
Yep. When I got around to kind of, because at the time that's what bands did, we created MySpace pages. When I got around to creating the MySpace page, I had sort of the identity crisis. Should this be a singular band title or a plural? And ultimately went with the plural because I felt that it would give me some room to present different sides of this tree, who clearly, as an actual magical creature with a thought process and everything would have kind of multiple sides to his personality. Appears on the surface to be someone who has trouble connecting with people and has a tendency to lash out, but deep down really just wants to be touched. So that was pretty much my concept from the beginning. So
yeah, awesome. So is it? Can we officially say that Harry and the Potters and Draco and the Malfoys and the Whomping Willows were at that show the very first Wizard Rockers?
No, actually,
okay.
So at that time, there were other bands that had been inspired by Harry and the Potters. And the Potters actually, they date back to, I think 2002 was when they had their first house party show.
Okay.
The infamous house party show where they had organized a show and all the bands canceled, and so they had to throw together some entertainment. So they went off this idea, I believe, that Paul had come up with for Harry and the Potters, and they just wrote songs pretty much that day and then performed their first show. I think that happened in 2002.
Okay.
And I think 2003 was then when they first started playing shows and word started to get around. So in terms of the order of things, I might have been in the first something like 6 to 10 bands.
Okay.
But there were a few, like the Parselmouths out in Seattle. I think they created their MySpace page in 2004. They were around for like a year before I got organized. So, yeah.
You're an organizer. Sounds like your organization around music preceded the Harry Potter Alliance. How does the HPA and you come together?
Well, the HPA was really originally kind of the brainchild of Andrew Slack, and he had envisioned initially kind of the connection. He thought a lot about, in the early days of his activism, he thought about the potential for connections between humanities and activism, and story and activism. And I think it really came together for him with the Harry Potter series, because he felt that it was just fertile ground for inspiring people to action. And so the Harry Potter Alliance really started in 2005 when he met Paul and Joe of Harry and the Potters, and kind of pitched the idea to them, and they thought it was fantastic, and kind of helped him get the idea initially off the ground. So I met Andrew through Paul and Joe, and I was very taken with the concept and thought it was great. So I was kind of on various email threads with Andrew as early as 2006, just kind of talking with him about different ideas he had for a chapters program and all this other stuff. And eventually, Andrew had attracted a number of fandom leaders to this idea, and eventually I was chosen to serve on the first board of directors as the organization became, a legit nonprofit with 501c3 status and everything.
Wow.
So I served on the board from its founding in 2007 until 2013, when I left the board to be considered for employment.
Mm-hmm.
So to me, it was a natural fit. I had cared about social issues. I became kind of a political person as early as age 13, but had always felt that activist communities were too exclusive and not always welcoming to people who didn't know what they were doing and who needed to learn how to do it.
Yeah.
So to me, an organization that really focused on first-time activists was something that I felt immediately passionate about.
Yeah. No, that's as I came to learn about fan activism in the Harry Potter world. That's the kind of energy and spirit that I noticed, was just how open everyone was, and how easy it was to get involved. And one of the things I was fascinated to read about regarding HPA was that you guys, speaking of this phenomena, you got 400,000 fans together to help Warner Brothers start sourcing their Harry Potter chocolate to be 100% fair trade.
Yeah, that was
pretty amazing.
That's definitely. I mean, we consider that to be kind of our biggest crowning achievement. And when we think about kind of the potential of our methodology, that's what we point to as a really solid example of what we can achieve. And there was fan activism certainly before the HPA, but I think that it was more focused on improving fandom itself, or improving the creators of story, their relationship with fans in various ways. And of course, there's always been like cultural activism and different ways that activists have connected to culture. But I think what made the HPA unique was really focusing on driving engagement in real world issues outside of fandom, and moving fans toward action on specific issues. So, I mean, that campaign, Not in Harry's Name, it really developed over the course of 4 years, and it started out with letters and howlers and things like that, and then moved to a petition, and it got bigger and bigger as we partnered with organizations that work specifically on ending child slavery and stuff like that. So it snowballed and grew over time, and eventually we won. So pretty cool.
Yeah, I'll say. Yeah, and it doesn't sound like there's such a straightforward model for pulling something like this off. It sounded somewhat organic. Something of this size and nature.
For sure. And I think, as we've grown into more of an institution, we have to remember that we've had, some of our biggest successes when we were, shooting from the hip. And that campaign, we didn't map it out over the course of 4 years. We didn't have a 4-year plan.
Right.
We started with a 1-month plan and kind of adjusted to reality as it went along. And I think that our ability to be kind of nimble and flexible and to draw from real fan energy is something that really benefited that campaign.
Yeah. There's a concept now. I don't know if it's from business or the social sciences or both, but I believe, I don't know if this originated in Cornell, but I live in Ithaca near Cornell University, and so I hear quite a bit about what's happening there. But I think the concept was something like an active scrum, like a scrum in rugby. Mm-hmm. Or no, not active, agile scrum. And it's really what you're talking about, that you start out with a plan, you have a good thoughtful plan, and you have it mapped out to some extent, but you're willing to adjust as you get feedback and as results come in and as spontaneous things happen. That I think this is now like a real legitimate academic and model, and a model used in industry to help organizations achieve their goals. So maybe moving away from the idea that your business plan has to be completely mapped out for success, and then you just doggedly stick to it. even though things may be falling apart or not going the way you planned. And sometimes sticking to the plan can be actually a problem.
Yeah, definitely. And I think not that I'll go too deep on this. I don't want to bore people with the day-to-day details of the HPA, but I think there are kind of two sides to any methodology that we decide to stick with. There's always drawbacks to anything, and I think staying humble and understanding that not everything's always going to work out. That sometimes the skills that people acquire just by participating is really the most important outcome. And that's kind of something. That's really been our focus lately. Is sort of codifying our leadership development model and making sure that even if we don't save the world, that the people who've participated have come out that much stronger and then can bring those skills into their next pursuits. If they get involved with another organization or they start their own or whatever they decide to do, that they go into it, having gained really essential skills and resiliency.
Yeah. Wow. Matt, I think you just found our segue to Voldemort's Corner.
Oh, cool.
I think you ready to go to Voldemort's Corner?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. All right, here we go. So
I'm afraid. I'm kind of nervous.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah.
I'm curious about what we're talking about here with organizations and being able to be responsive and hang in there and continue to participate even after things don't go so well. And it reminds me of Voldemort. It makes me wonder about his leadership style. If he could have benefited from being able to have more of a participatory spirit, and also this idea that we have the experience of things not going as we planned. Very often I think when we experience loss, we respond by saying I wasn't ready for this, or I didn't expect this. This wasn't in the plans. This. So I'm wondering if there are some certain qualities or aspects of what you're describing that keeps you inspired and keeps the HPA going and everyone involved with it that Voldemort lacked.
Yeah, well, I mean the first thing that comes to mind is that the HPA part of our ethos is that we welcome everyone, that everyone has a role to play in the movement. Mm-hmm. But we, in addition to whatever role they play, we also understand that they're people, that they have their own goals, they have their own wishes and their own kind of dreams in terms of making the world a better place. They have the issue that means the most to them. They have the friendships and the background that have kind of shaped them and shaped their activism and shaped what they want to get out of this experience. I don't think Voldemort paid attention to that. I don't think Voldemort thought, well, let's think about my team.
The experience of his employees.
Yeah, exactly. I don't think Voldemort really thought very much about what the people around him were getting out of the equation. I think Voldemort had a pretty singular purpose and really like a lack of community beyond just the obligation that comes from fear. And I think that is a big difference maker.
not to put you on the spot, but are you saying as an executive director that it's okay if someone in your organization has an experience that is worthwhile to them personally, that may be in line with the goals of the HPA, or maybe they inspire them actually in a different direction, that is a positive outcome of the organization itself?
Yes, absolutely. I think a good organization, a strong organization, sets up opportunities for people to develop, the skills and the leadership skills and the general kind of talents and skills to be successful beyond the organization. I think the ideal scenario for anyone that interacts with the HPA is that they get out of it the confidence and the resilience and the abilities to go and have success in their life, and no matter what they choose to do. And when we see former volunteers and chapter organizers and people who've interacted with our programs and campaigns, when we see them go on to take on high-level positions in other organizations and have success, we're thrilled, absolutely thrilled. And why we're not afraid of losing them is essentially because we're doing a good job of training their replacements. We're keeping
awesome.
the funnels of leadership active from the bottom up, and I think that's the most important thing, is to continually be quote unquote arming new generations of leaders and activists, so that whether they're contributing to your organization or another, they're doing amazing things.
Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah, frustrations of a young man. Oh yeah.
Of course, there are times when we've identified people, individuals who we felt would be perfect for a very specific role on our staff or on the board or whatever. And then we've, worked with those people to develop their skills and make sure that they had everything they needed to succeed in that position. To think about things like, who will replace me? And think about that with comfort, and think about that with, sort of the generosity of spirit that you need to have in order to kind of like find your replacement and find somebody who can come aboard and take the HPA to the next level. I think these are healthy things, and I think that, all of us on senior staff certainly are constantly thinking about who can we elevate, who can we empower to play a deeper leadership role in the future. But at the same time, we do want also our general membership to have opportunities to deepen their commitment, and we want our chapter members and organizers to have opportunities to deepen their commitment. So we've seen people over the course of maybe 2 or 3 years go from, member who signed our petition to, chapter member to chapter organizer to volunteer to manager, and we see that type of development happening all the time, which is to us just a great measure of success.
Going back to Wizard Rock, what's happening with Wizard Rock with you now? And I also am aware that Lauren's a Wizard Rocker as well. What's happening with all that in your family?
We haven't had as much time for the musical side of things lately, although Lauren actually just recorded a new song. It's not a Wizard Rock song. It's more a song about kind of being a creator in the current kind of creator culture, and kind of following non-traditional career paths and stuff like that. But we're playing a Harry Potter conference next weekend up in New Hampshire. We're playing at Mysticon. And then later in the summer, we're playing at LeakyCon in Dublin,
yeah.
which will be fantastic. So we get out a few times a year for the conferences, and then, I don't think that I'll release any more new Wizard Rock music, but I've released a lot of it. So I feel like I've done what I can with the Whomping Willow in terms of songwriting, but I think I hope I continue to play shows and continue getting invites to conferences and things like that, and maybe there's a tour in my future. I don't know. So we'll see.
When you look toward the future, what do you see?
Oh gosh, I have lots of different thoughts about that. I mean, I do think the Harry Potter fandom's unique. I mean, people back in 2007 when I was playing shows around the release of Deathly Hallows and stuff, I was getting is Wizard Rock going to end now that the last book is out and all that? And, here we are 10 years later, having an interview about Wizard Rock. And so, I pretty much at the time thought that the notion that it would end was ridiculous. And that's kind of the way we all felt about it. And lo and behold, we were correct. And I think there's still a ton of fandom energy. I think it seems to keep renewing itself. And, with the HPA, we've seen a lot of younger people coming in. We've also seen a lot of people stick with us. Right now, our average chapter organizer age is 27, which is just like amazing.
Really?
So we're seeing a lot of people just like they're sticking with us, and they're continuing to grow with the fandom. But that said, one thing I think that would benefit Wizard Rock a lot is for the veterans to step aside and let some new people come in and take up space on stages and at events and all that stuff. I think that a scene needs to stay fresh. It can't have the same people over and over again. And so, I think that Wizard Rock is smaller than it was in 2007, 2008, but it's still there, and it's still active. One thing I think, though, that's changed is kind of the medium, or the main platform for Wizard Rock in the beginning was MySpace, and it was very much like bands had their profile and they had their songs, and they put their tour dates up. And nowadays, the main platform is YouTube, and I think that that's made it a little more dispersed. It's made it so that Wizard Rock is kind of like one particular medium that that songwriters will utilize, but they won't do that exclusively. They'll also write songs about other fandoms, and they'll write songs about other stuff, and Wizard Rock will be kind of a thing they do among many things. Which is neat.
Yeah, I can kind of, now that you say that, some of the newer Wizard Rockers I'm familiar with seem to be going in that direction.
Yeah.
I don't know if you listened to the episode with Brian Ross from Draco and the Malfoys. For those who don't know Brian, I know Matt, you and Brian go back to the beginning of Wizard Rock, but I mentioned that and that, at some point here, you guys are going to be the grandparents of Wizard Rock.
Yep. Oh, definitely.
Which is good. And that's good, right? That means it's if you have grandchildren, then that's exciting that it has that kind of longevity.
Yeah. Oh, definitely. And it's actually kind of funny because there are like multiple friends that I've made in Wizard Rock that jokingly call me Dad because I am, at least 10 years older than the average Wizard Rocker. And, so I guess we're coming up to the point where those Wizard Rockers will start having children, and, it'll be intergenerational mentorship is what we call it at the HPA. But I think, Wizard Rock, in addition to being a genre that's produced music and fans and, the normal interactions that occur in music scenes. It's also a place where a lot of people have learned how to write music and how to record music and book shows. And Brian right now is really taking that mentorship role very seriously. He's finding a lot of opportunities to help out newer musicians who are just getting their feet wet.
Yeah.
And that's something that I did, back in 2007 and 2008. One of my biggest focuses was helping younger bands and younger musicians, kind of produce music on the cheap and find ways to get their stuff out with a limited budget and resources. And so, to me, I mean, that's the key is, that continual passing on of skills and skill sharing and resource sharing. And I think that'll keep Wizard Rock going pretty much as long as people are interested in it.
Yeah. Yeah, just as you mentioned with the spirit of the HPA, having a type of experience that's open and strives to not get exclusive. Speaking of that in the HPA, my impression of how the local chapters get going is that it seems like the trend has been that they're often they start at universities and colleges. Is that an accurate perception? And has it, if it is, has it changed, and is it changing, or because 27 sounds a lot older than college age?
Yeah, it's so we have three main types of chapters. We have high school chapters, university chapters, and community chapters. And as far as I know, our ratio has basically remained the same for a long time, which is that we have about 33% of the program in each category. I think, though, that we have seen a shift lately, I think, and this isn't necessarily accurate. I'm just going off my impression, but I think that we have seen a shift towards community chapters with older COs, people who have kind of stuck around and held on to their chapters beyond college, and then transition to a community chapter outside of the university context. So it's definitely not, chapters don't exclusively start at a college or a school. We have tons of community chapters that are just, some of them start off as local Harry Potter fan groups or just groups of people who care about a specific issue, and they tap into our chapters program as a way to, get resources and stuff like that. So,
and that's an okay way to involve the HPA if I wanted to make a change in the world and thought that having a Harry Potter theme would help with that. I could come to you and pitch an idea and get some support.
Yeah. I mean, anyone who wants to start a chapter, we do have kind of a process that you go through to establish your chapter, and we have different trainings and things of that nature that we hope our chapter organizers will go through so that they can be, better positioned to put together a group that lasts and put together, an action plan that can keep their group focused. So yeah, that's all part of it.
So some chapters may get their initial inspiration and focus from an issue first, whereas others might love the idea of starting an HPA chapter but may not have their cause or their causes identified yet.
Definitely, yep. I've seen both. Yeah. I've seen both cases.
That's great. Can you maybe as we wrap up here, could you tell the listeners about Accio Books specifically, that effort?
Sure.
What that is?
Sure. Accio Books is really kind of the HPA's flagship campaign. We started this in 2009 with our first book drive that raised books for kind of a youth center in Rwanda. And that was our first library that we built was for that facility in Rwanda. And we decided to make that, kind of build off the success of that first year and make Accio Books a yearly book drive that we run in the spring. And the focus really is on our chapters raising books to donate in their local communities if they wish, but it's also open to our general members who aren't in chapters, and we try to get other organizations involved as well and participating. And we also typically have a primary recipient, and usually somewhere between 10 and 50% of the books that our members raise end up going to that primary recipient. And so basically, like, over time, this has gone from one-off book drive to something that, again, we do every year with the ultimate goal of raising over 1 million books for communities in need and building 25 libraries now is our long-term goal.
Yeah.
So, we have a long way to go, but we, last year we surpassed 300,000 books raised over the course of, several years of the campaign. And
that's awesome.
So this year we are partnered up with an awesome organization in San Diego called Words Alive.
Okay.
And they serve a community of 5,000 young people, children and their families in Southern California, and provide kind of a variety of literacy programs and reading programs and educational resources. So we're sending thousands of books to that organization that they can use for their programs.
Well, Matt,
thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for being on the show and for all of your hard and inspired work and your fun work. It sounds like it sounds like a lot of fun as well. And when we work hard and have fun, that's something special. So I'm so glad that you guys are out there doing what you do. And that. Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you. I mean, it's incredible, and it's amazing that an introduction over a decade ago led to all of this. I feel like it's just been spiraling out of my control since then, but it's been pretty amazing.
Haters got you feeling like a reject. There might be wizards, but they got that muggle mindset. You might be weird, but you deserve a little respect. So I swear I do believe in our goals. So I swear I do believe in our goals. And it's imperative you use it. You got the heart to know what's right and choose it. You were an all-star when you kicked it with the TA. No one will blame you fighting tap leaders your own way. You know you look good when you rock those radish earrings, and it's a crime to change yourself just to fit in. Let's face it, girl, there's nothing cool about convention. It's more fun to make your life your own invention. So I swear I do believe in our goals. So I swear I do believe in our goals. the living outdoors. So I swear to the living outdoors.
Whether you believe in Nargles, ending poverty in your community, or providing books for children to read, the Harry Potter Alliance may be a way for you to make a difference and have fun doing it. If not, you can always support Matt and the HPA with a donation. Just go to thehpalliance.org. Do you have a project you would like to tell everyone about? Be the next special guest on Potterwatch. Just send an email to potterwatchmail@gmail.com. Potterwatch is made by fans, for fans, and produced by Tony Cutraccia in Ithaca, New York.